Welcome to Bookmas. This is the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. Today I'm going to talk about a subject that it would have been great if Dave had been home, because I would have had him make an appearance here, but he's at the office and I didn't want to delay filming so I could get everything done. So if I can pop and edit him, waving hi, I shall. But otherwise, today we're going to talk about the book and video game crossovers. I'm not talking about lit RPG. I'm talking about actual video games that have books that either inspired the video game, have come out because of the video game. So if you have a gamer in your life who also is a reader, these are some suggestions. So I'm going to break it up into two timestamps. The first timestamp, I'm going to do the MMO related books, and then I will do the RPG single player crossovers. So first up, in the wonderful world of video game book crossovers for the MMO genre would be Guild Wars 2 in particular. Dave and I played Guild Wars 2 over Thanksgiving weekend. Bought all the current expansions. He finally, if the game just after we've had it since beta, finally clicked for him. So 11 and a half years post-release, the game finally makes sense to him. So, and while he doesn't actively read books, his wife actively does, and it helps the video gamer in me. So there are three books related to Guild Wars 2, and this is the third book in the series, and the only one I currently have not unhauled. That is The Sea of Sorrows by Rhys Sosby. And the other two in this series, I believe, are, The Ghosts of Ascalon, and The Edge of Destiny. I've read both of those books. They were fabulous. There are lots of lore that is sort of discussed in the video game itself, but it's just fleshing out details. If you play it and you don't read them, you're not missing anything. If you want more details and you read them, you'll have them. So I am looking forward to this. It is undoubtedly going to be on my 2024 reading list, probably very early on that 2024 reading list, to be honest, if not this month. So, yeah, looking forward to this one. And so on my Kindle, I have several World of Warcraft books. As you know, I've unhauled 2 of them this year. I think it is unfortunate that so much of vital Warcraft lore for the modern retail game occurs in a book. It leaves the player base that doesn't read sometimes wondering what's happening. And those of us that read and play sometimes wish that there was more detail fleshed out in the books. They generally release 1 book per expansion rather than several that flesh out details. So it's that, for lack of a better term, they straddle the fence. They don't make either camp happy, but they get to flesh out some details. I think the best book I've read for Warcraft While Sylvanas is a contender, I really think it is Tides of Change by Christy Golden. I'll put the picture right here. And it was the first Warcraft book I ever read, and I truly, truly loved it. I just did. I truly loved it. So, this game is in development. It will be an MMO. I know that there are probably single player games for this title. I haven't played any of them. I can't speak to any of them, so I'm just going to mention the one that's under development. That is Dune by Frank Herbert. And found out over the weekend that it is in development by Funcom I think Funcom's based in Norway. And they put out some very unique and thoughtful MMOs, so it makes sense that they are doing a Dune MMO, and it's going to be a survival MMO, which is fitting for the Dune series. It wouldn't work well in a traditional RPG setting because there's too much is based on your ability to survive in that universe than anything else. So I will link the trailer video in the description down below if you're interested or you know someone who might be. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out. So last up on the MMO book crossover, and this one also crosses over into the single player games. That would be The Lord of the Rings by Tolkien. And as you all know, I am reading this puppy in 2024. I think we've played The Lord of the Rings MMO since release. And at the time, we didn't understand what a value the lifetime membership was. So we didn't buy them. We've regretted that ever since. Well, we are not actively playing it. I know that it just had an expansion release. I know that it has expanded beyond the books, but to the best of my knowledge, statement is still true. Tolkien nerds still very much enjoy the Lord of the Rings MMO game. So, with that being said, before I go into the standalone games, I know that there are some tabletop gamers, and there are a plethora of Dungeons and Dragons books. I should have talked about those too. See if I can grab one here real quick. And Dungeons and Dragons is also an MMO that's on the market, as is Neverwinter. I will put 2 book selections for both of those games right here. So before I do the standalones, let's talk about tabletop games. Over the weekend, the Stormlight Archive tabletop game was all over my newsfeed. I've read books 1 through 3 of the Stormlight Archive on my Kindle. So they're right here. And I have book 4 on my shelves. I'm reading it 2024. And I know book 5 comes out in 2024 as well. So there is a plethora of that. For Dungeons and Dragons, I can't find a copy really quick, but I do have most of the I have a lot of the Forgotten Realms books. So they're right here. And here is a Dragonlance book. Those are all tabletop games that are very popular and have a lot of source material outside of the books. Okay, so standalone video games. Obviously, there are a lot around the Lord of the Rings. And once again, my map just fell out. Really need to find another spot for it. There are mobile games for the Lord of the Rings. There are standalone PC games. There are console games. It is a very well covered genre in games. They are in varying degrees of success in my experience. So, you know, as always, take them with a grain of salt. Halo is another one that is a standalone, but it has online matchmaking for PvP play. But Halo has a slew of books related to it that are not covered in the games, and they vastly broaden the world and lore of Halo, and I far more enjoy the books for Halo than I do the games. This happens to be Shadows of the Reach, and this is a Master Chief story by Troy Denning. I can highly recommend the Halo books if you like science fiction, if you like Halo, if you have someone who just wants to expand their Halo lore. These are just, they're fun. And who doesn't love a fun read? Next up, there are 2 books published for the Elder Scrolls. They aren't related to any specific game, so be it Skyrim or their MMO or Oblivion. So there are 2 books. The first book I've already unhauled several years ago, and that was The Infernal City by Craig Keyes, and this is Lord of Souls by the same author. I have only read The Infernal City, and I will say that these books are odd. The Infernal City was just odd. And they're set in the same universe, and they remind me more of fan fiction than any other book on this list. And I'm not saying fan fiction is bad. I'm just saying it wasn't a compelling read, which is why I've had this book for probably close to a decade, and I haven't picked it up, and it doesn't scream at me to read it. So maybe I just need to read it in 24 and unhaul it. So I have books 3 and 4 of this series. Don't have books 1 or 2 anymore. I probably am going to pick them up and put them on my bookshelves. I know that this is a single player standalone game. It is based on the Dwarves book by Marcus Heitz. And these are translated from the German into English. I have read the first 2. I loved them. If you love dwarves, if you tend to play a dwarf, then I can easily recommend these books. Even if you never pick up the video game, which is nowhere near as compelling as the books in my opinion, the books are fabulous, and they're filled with dwarves, and the elves are the bad guys, not the good guys, and it was just a very interesting take on high fantasy. You came to say hi again? Hi. You want your nose petted? Okay. See, now you get your nose petted. Okay, lay down. So, next up is Editing Tammy. I forgot to mention a very important book. It is put a picture right here. It's on my Kindle. And it is related to the Cyberpunk 2077 game. I also have the book that started the subgenre on my list of things to read next year. That would be Neuromancer by William Gibson. It is the first book in the trilogy. I can never remember what the name of this trilogy is called, and I don't recall it being in the front of the book. It's not. I will put it down here. Dave is playing Cyberpunk. I am not. I am not really good at shooters. I'm okay. But there's a lot of driving in that game, and I don't drive in video games. I can do it in real life, but I really, really hate it a lot. I don't drive actually anymore because I have tunnel vision so badly that, you know, I don't drive. Driving in video games is horrendous for me. There's a lot of driving in that game. However, it is very popular. It is done by the same people that do the Witcher series, and Dave truly enjoys it. And it is filled with lore. I mean, it is jam-packed. So I'm looking forward to diving into that book after I read Neuromancer. I will read the Cyberpunk 2077 book. And now, back to your regularly scheduled programming. Hi. Can you go lay down, please? Lay down. The Witcher video games and the whole Witcher series. I have just ordered the box set of all the Witcher novels. And unfortunately they're in paperback, but this cover won't match, so I'm probably getting rid of a hardback. The Witcher series is... There's the Netflix series. Then there's 3 Witcher games. I believe the 4th one is in development as we speak. And it is the retelling of Polish and Slavic folklore. There is a difference between the games and the books. And the Netflix series definitely deviates from the books. Didn't even watch it because I knew it was going to deviate. I knew Henry Cavill could not keep control of that. Unfortunately, these books, if you do not like dark fantasy and it's too much, do not read the Witcher books. They can be very dark and very brutal, and if that makes you uncomfortable, do not pick up the Witcher books. However, if you enjoyed the video games or you enjoyed the series and you're curious and reading grimdark does not bother you, I highly recommend the books. I know there has been grumbling about the translation. I cannot speak to the authenticity of the translation as I do not speak Polish. I do, however, know that the books are just a good read, and they are transportative and interesting and action-filled and political drama, and I love the Witcher books. I do. I love the Witcher books. As I sat here, I thought of one that I missed, and it just flew out of my head, so maybe I'll think about it next year. No, everybody has seen you enough today. Can you lay down, please? Can you lay down, please? No, you can't lay down today? Okay. So, this is coming up, or depending on when you see this, you will have already seen my November book haul. This will be included in that, and this is The Invincible by Stanislaw Lem. And the reason I hauled this book is because we saw the game on Xbox and I was intrigued. So we saw the video game on Xbox, and I was just intrigued. I've never heard of it. The name rang a bell. And so, of course, I wanted to read it. This is science fiction. I will read you the back of this book. In the grand tradition of H.G. Wells and Jules Verne, Stanislaw Lem's The Invincible tells the story of a space cruiser sent to an obscure planet to determine the fate of his sister spaceship, whose communication with Earth has abruptly ceased. Landing on the planet Regis 3, Navigator Rohan and his crew discover a form of life that has apparently evolved from autonomous, self-replicating machines, perhaps the survivors of a robot war. Rohan and his men are forced to confront the classic quandary. What course of action can humanity take once it has reached the limits of its knowledge? In The Invincible, Lem has his characters confront the inexplicable and the bizarre, a problem that lies just beyond analytical reach. It sounds fascinating. The game looked intriguing, so I will read this and I will play it. And the book isn't long. It's just over 200 pages, so it's not like it's, a tome to slog through. So, and this is translated, I believe, from the Russian. And Klua has found herself yet another pecan. So I am going to go rescue the pecan from the dog. And please leave a comment down below, like and subscribe. I am sure I have missed book crossovers, so maybe I'll do another video next year. And please leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.